Good morning from the Bahamas. So today's actually day 2 here, just getting up in the morning. Yesterday, flew over, then took a taxi from Marsh Harbor over to Treasure Cay, then the ferry from Treasure Cay over to Green Turtle Cay. Yesterday, we just kind of explored the island a little bit, checked out some construction progress for Sean and Emily down here. And then today, we thought the seas were going to be a little too rough and turned up for diving and snorkeling, but it looks all right. It's pretty calm this morning. So we'll see what we can do. We don't ever have any solid plans on the island because everything's so weather dependent, but we definitely have to start figuring out what we want to do for food tonight, and that always involves either fishing or diving or spearing to get what we're going to eat for tonight. We talked about possibly doing some shore diving today since it is so murky out there. I mean, the water's much nicer than anywhere at home, but it still turned up, so visibility is reduced a little bit just from rain and waves last night. So we'll see what we end up doing. Possibly out on the jet skis, possibly from shore, possibly spearing lobster. The plans are all up in the air. Morning. So pretty much everybody here gets around on golf carts or side-by-sides, and the weird thing that we always have to remember is that technically have to drive on the wrong side of the road, the left side of the road, which takes just a little bit of getting used to. But we did end up deciding to go free dive from shore, so we loaded up the side-by-sides and headed to an area that has some decent habitat for lobster. Of course, I failed to get it on camera, but right away when I started swimming out, about a 3-foot, maybe a little less than 3-foot barracuda swam in front of me and then started circling around and was just staring at me. And then that was definitely kind of an unsettling feeling since that's the very first thing I saw on this trip. Realistically, they aren't really a problem. If you leave them alone, they leave you alone. But they are definitely a scary-looking fish, that's for sure. So essentially what we're doing here is just going around and checking some of these pieces of tin in the water. The lobsters like to hide out underneath these. I find it kind of comical that when I do hikes in the mountains or any other remote areas, people always ask if I'm scared of bears or mountain lions and things like that. But no one ever brings up safety concerns when I'm talking about a trip to the Bahamas. For me personally, I'm way more frightened of things in the ocean than things on land. So there's just so many unknowns down there, and poisonous or stinging fish and anemones or urchins or jellyfish, stingrays, sharks. Yeah, just a lot of stuff that's under the surface, that's for sure. This bathtub here was holding a bunch of lobsters. We flipped that over. I went down to get a shot on this one. I ended up having a poor placement, so it got off the spear and takes off. Jerry, who already had a lobster on his spear, then goes chasing after it and somehow manages to get a decent hit on it, and then has 2 big lobsters on his spear.
That's a beast. That is a fucking double big, boys.
Dude, get out of there.
Grab him. He's going to slip off of there. Okay, I need to take a break. Asthma attack.
So after all that excitement, we got a few lobsters out of there. We continued to kind of snorkel around after we flipped that bathtub back over, checked a few more of these pieces of tin or miscellaneous debris that's in the water where these lobsters hang out. Got a few more, swam through the school of baitfish, which is just kind of neat, as well as the rock formations there on the shore. Continued to just kind of check the area, looking for conch, looking for lobster, and then came across this jellyfish on our way back in.
This is my big one.
He's still alive.
Is this the one that you shot twice?
That'll feed
3 people. Yeah, this one shot twice.
Shot him in the meat.
Hey, do you agree that we should do popcorn lobster? Because this will go the distance. And we got enough for everybody to full meal.
This is the one the first one I shot. This one where the tail's about to fall off.
This is the soft, he just molted, that means.
Yeah. You gotta fan him out just like a chunky.
Got all of our lobsters cleaned up on shore, packed that up and went back to the house. We had some time to kill before dinner, so we figured we'd take the jet skis out. Didn't really have a plan, but we ended up going down to No Name Cay. There's one little restaurant here and a swim-up pool bar. The cool thing about this is that there's these pigs that just kind of roam the island, and you can pet them and feed them or do whatever. So grabbed ourselves some pina coladas and then headed back over to Green Turtle Cay to make dinner. On the menu for the night was some pan-fried lobster bites that we had speared earlier in the day. We also roasted up some veggies and then had some air-fried French fries. After dinner, we packed up, got on the side-by-sides, went over to Island Rain to enjoy the sunset. Willie busted out his drone, and then we got some sweet aerial shots. So the water conditions were definitely improving, but we kind of wanted to wait for the best opportunity before we actually did any spearing. So we figured the following day we'd link up with Chris in the morning. He'd take us out, and then we were just going to do some more deep water stuff. So initially we loaded up the poles and the gear, and we started trolling in about 400 to 500 feet of water at times. Weren't really having a bunch of luck with that. Got a lot of bites, lost a lot of bait. So we ended up deciding to just kind of bounce some squid off the bottom in about 100 feet of water. And then we were pretty successful. We got a bunch of these strawberry grouper, which are super good to eat. Some other jack, things like that. Triggerfish, which you don't really eat, but still fun to catch. I think everybody got at least something. At some points we had 2 fish on the line. Caught fish, lost fish, had shark skin fish. All in all, though, pretty successful day out here. Really?
I don't think
It's there.
And bring it right over by me. Okay, swing it over by me. Swing it over by me.
Stop reeling, stop reeling. You got fishing for.
Very nice.
Holy fuck. This one don't work out.
Got a second wind.
Oh. Jerry, you gotta catch the fish, not put it back.
Shark just spit my fish out.
Spit it out, right? Told you had a fish and I saw a shark came by it. He's probably not gonna
My fish is coming.
I told you.
Oh yeah, he spit my fish out.
Oh, geez.
Oh, that can eat. That can eat because the only part that we eat is this part.
Yeah.
So if you didn't catch what just happened there, when Sean was reeling that fish in, he had a shark bite it. I was gonna go grab the pole from him so that I could fight this shark. And then as he was reeling it up, all of a sudden it got light again. And turns out the shark spit the fish out. So we got back to the dock, cleaned up the fish, and then headed back to the house to start making dinner. Whipped up some yellow jack ceviche, and then we also breaded some of the grouper and pan fried that, and then had a bunch of sides too.
Yeah.
Then it was back over to Island Range for the sunset, and Willie getting in the hammock for the gram.
Don't put your foot right through the hammock though.
Oh, splits.
Yeah, you could move that. It would look better. That. Yeah, now just crawl back out of there and you should be fine. Oh, that was not nearly so the following morning then, we all got up. We had already planned to meet Chris over at the dock bright and early. So we loaded up the side-by-sides with all of the spears and the cooler and whatnot. Headed down there and then transferred all that stuff into the boat. Chris met us in his boat, and then we took out the Panga, which is a smaller boat, definitely full with the amount of people that we had on it, but a lot shallower sides too, so easier to get in and out of the water since we're planning on doing so much spearing. What's the mission?
Murder fish and dodge sharks.
Started off by checking some of these grass ledges for lobster. Didn't have a ton of luck here, but it is always nice to get that first swim out of the way so you can kind of get acclimated again before you start spearing fish and the sharks come out.
Right there, but I saw his hand.
I didn't know where my gloves are. I jumped in before I put my gloves on.
Don't lose them over the water.
You see that big fat shirt?
Oh yeah.
Solid. Look at that thing. Hold on. That's some strong current. Underneath this super strong current was a stockpile of lobster. Probably this guy.
The only cooler fit older guy.
You're so gentle.
Yeah,
I like how Sean just throws them. So we had more than enough food for dinner, so we called it a day there and started heading back to do some snorkeling. As you saw, we got a bunch of hogfish. We got that massive grouper that's that black or brown dark colored fish that you saw. And then a bunch of lobster, which I'll show you in a bit. But as you can see, on our way back, we came across a whole pod of dolphins, which was super cool to see. These aren't really all that common in the Bahamas, so it's definitely a special treat for us. This is the little miniature island that we went snorkeling around, and underneath here it was just abundant with all different kinds of marine life. cleaned up the conch while we were out on the water, headed back to the dock. We ended up with 15 lobsters, which is just absolutely insane. Cleaned up the fish and then headed back to the house to start making dinner. Different day, same meals. And sure, I say different day, same meals, but it's all super good. Wouldn't change anything. After a quick coffee run in the morning, we headed down to the ferry, took that back over to Treasure Key. This airport, by the way, super small. It's literally ran out of a travel trailer, like a camper. So that gives you an idea for the size. Hopped in the plane, and just like that, we were saying goodbye to the Bahamas. Look out the window here. All these trees that don't have anything on them. This is all still leftover damage from Hurricane Dorian, which was in 2019. There's still a lot of damage on the island from that. But just like that, Bahamas is over with, and we're landing back in the States.